successful person behind the desk. And I said, my doctor with no patience. Waiting is not a good sign. And she handed me this notebook, a little clipboard. And I said, oh, this is your medical history form that everybody has to fill out. But no, it wasn't. Just name, address, and telephone number. And she said, Dr. Aran will be in just a minute. So I said, this is a waste. I'm not going to find what I need here, a way out, And the next thing happened is my head doctor comes in with a white back coat on, no turban, gray hair. And I said, first good sign I've seen is a gray hair doctor. So he came over, introduced himself, and we went back into the training room. I never did a medical history form, but he stood there and asked me every question. He asked about my mother, my father, my grandfather, my brother, my sister, all the things that they'd ever had, and how to be looking for, my genetic pool and things that give me a problem. And he filled all this out by hand in my record. He took my blood. He touched everything, went everywhere. And after about an hour and a half in that examining, he says, I'm going to go across the hall in my office, and I'll be back in, and we can put your clothes back on, and we'll discuss my findings. Oh, good. Finally. And we went out, and I put the clothes on and all, and he came back in. And he stood in front of the door. I thought he was going to tell me everything's okay, or this, that, or other, take a lady away. But he stood in front of the door and across the phone and said, why are you here? I said, I was here for a physical. He said, no. If you don't go to a trained physician for a physical, after not having one for 15 years, there's something wrong, and you must tell me what it is, so I can tell you the problem for you. Smart man, he had looked through all this stuff and said, you just don't go to a trained physician for a physical. When you've not done this in 15 years, there's something wrong. And I said, it's not that complicated. I mean, my wife wanted me to have a physical, and I was going on this mission trip, and they wanted me to have a physical. And so he stood there in front of the building, and he said, Stuart, so where are you going? You believe me? I said, I'm going to Bolivia. He looked at me and said, this is my home. At that moment, I felt this air on the back of my neck. Like there was something back there on please. And I knew that I was supposed to go to Bolivia. I didn't need another sign. That was a sign. And so he looked at me and said, where in Bolivia will you go? I said, I'm going to Santa Cruz, Bolivia. He said, have you had any problems with the trip? And I said, well, I looked at the CDC website. I could not tell what vaccine I needed. He said, call me. And I went across the hall into his office, and there was a laminated poster on the wall, vaccinations needed for Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And he sat down and called the health department, got me an appointment, and told them every one of the vaccines I needed. I never even had to think about it. And then he walked back across the hall. He said, I find nothing wrong with you. Your blood work will be in here tomorrow. And you can call back and see if anything in your blood work that shows up a problem. So is there anything else? And I said, well, while this providential meeting is going on, I said, I will be going down, I don't know anyone. And I have no idea what I'll do. And he said, don't worry. And he went over to his prescription pad, turned it over on the right side, on the back. And he wrote down a name and a telephone number. Lorio Adriana. summer this week. And this is my best friend in the world. We went to medical school together in Bolivia, and we flew here to the United States together. And he's now retiring and going back home. And he's retiring in Jacksonville, Florida as an anesthetist or anesthesiologist. And he's going back to Bolivia, to Santa Cruz, to a dairy he owns. So, I knew I was supposed to go on that trip. And it was the most amazing trip. I went along. I spoke at the first National Dairy Symposium. I taught people at the veterinary school, and I have another whole set of stories with it. But the one I want to relate to you now, because it leads me into this ministry I want to talk about this morning. I saw so much poverty, so much need, children being exploited, hunger. One night I just was singing too much. And I got down on my knees and out of bed and I said, Lord, why did you bring me here? Why did you show me this? I'm older. I was in my 50s. I'm only one. I cannot make the changes here that these people need. I don't know how to help. I don't know what to do. But each night when I prayed, the next morning it was clear to me what to do. And this happened over and over again. It wasn't just about this one thing. But the next morning when I woke up, something had planted in my mind. Don't go on. And so from that first trip I did alone, I started taking students in veterinary school with me on these trips. I went to Bolivia several times more and took students from all over the United States. Veterinary school all over. Puerto Rico, Illinois, University of Illinois, Washington State, a lot from NC State because they were right next to me. Just a lot of wonderful young people who were so much further along in their faith walk than I ever was at their age. It was just a joy to work with them. But they were all part of Christian veterinary fellowships at these colleges. It was a student thing. So I ended up becoming an advisor for Christian veterinary fellowship there at NC State. And so almost every year, during COVID and things like that, I've taken these students with me and I have seen it pay out. In other words, I've had students that are on mission with me that went full-time service. Right now, I support one through the IMB and the Baptist Mission Board that's in India. That went on their first mission trips with me. We had some in the Malabar Nation, places that I've gone, people were touched, their hearts were changed, and when they graduated, they went into something else. And there's some that have gone out into practice and have done what I did. I wasn't very successful. I was being called all over the world. I was busy. I had clients in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, and then about 7 other countries around the world. And I was doing all this work by email and fax, and I was very successful. But it really wasn't, I thought I would be satisfied at that point because I was feeding people around the world. That was my passion. But I came to a point where I wanted to change from success to significance. And these mission trips allow me to do that. And these young people that I take on these trips are shown opportunities to serve. There's, like I say, they're so much further along in their faith walk than I was at their age. And many of them have changed their life from success to significance as they get to that place in their careers and in their family life. When the children are behind and things like this, they have turned and gone to serve others in Jesus' name. And so, that first trip, flash forward 30 years, and I get this contact from Kenya. They have a dairy farm over there associated with the ministry, and the dairy farm is not profitable. And so they reached out to the CDM, the Christian Veteran Fellowship at NC State. And I agreed to take a group of students from NC State over to this mission in Kenya. And the rest of this talk is about this mission in Kenya. But you see where I was and how it got me there. And what I was doing there with a group of 10 veterinary students, all of them, well, not all of them veterinarians yet, some of them were freshmen when we went. We made the trip in 2019. So, not everybody gets involved in missions the way I did. It doesn't take a sledgehammer for a lot of people, like it did me. You can be a goer, you can be a mobilizer, you can be a sender, a welcomer, or a goer. Now, I play a role in all of these. I go on these mission trips, I mobilize young people. And matter of fact, those trips I made to Bolivia were the beginning of the student mission trips, short-term mission trips, veterinary students. When I started taking them, it had not been done. And so I started taking these kids, and now it is a huge program all over the United States with all veterinary students. And we have mission trips going everywhere, all over the world, through CDM, primarily with students. And so a mobilizer is someone who kind of recruits for the mission world. A sender is somebody who helps fund these trips. A welcomer had an opportunity to do that in North Carolina because I live close to NC State, and a lot of foreign people who come to school there. And you can welcome them into the community of the United States, and then you can share with them about your faith. And then an adorer is someone who prays for the success of these missions. And that's the different ways you can get involved. Freedom Global is a unique mission in my mind. So many of these missions require continued feeding, continued money. Freedom Global has a little different business model we'll talk about in a second. But it's there to alleviate physical and spiritual poverty. You see, it hits me because we not only alleviate spiritual poverty, we help alleviate physical poverty. And it's through providing jobs and food to people who are in need. Freedom Global's headquarters is in Durham, North Carolina. The missionaries that went there were sent by a Baptist church called Summit Church. The CEO of this ministry went to Duke Divinity School, who was out of the Methodist Church, and he worked at that church plant in Kenya for the Baptist Church. Uhuru is the Swahili word for freedom. So when we refer to things in Kenya, we talk about Uhuru. So Uhuru Academy is Freedom Academy. Uhuru Dairy is Freedom Dairy. And what sets Freedom Global apart is different development models. We provide employment and education for disadvantaged people, and that employment helps fund the mission. Now, in 2008, for example, a lot of ministries in Kenya dried up. We went through a recession here in the United States. The funding slowed down in Kenya, and people left and leave it work. But not this one. You see, our business model allows people in the country to have a sustainable business that helps fund the mission. And so it's more like, if you'd like the analogy, teaching people to fish instead of giving them fish. Now, Freedom Global's mission and vision is we create sustainable businesses, invest the profits into the education and discipleship programs, and these things open up doors for discipleship. You know, Gandhi, who was not a Christian, he said Christians were too much hypocrites. So he went with a different church, a different religion. And Gandhi though said, when you speak to someone who is hungry about religion when we first talk about food. And so we have to alleviate physical poverty before people can feel comfortable to talk about spiritual poverty. So it's all following Christ's model. If you think about it, Christ fed the multitudes, and then he talked about religion. And so, until a man's physical needs are at least partially met, it's hard to get him to think about something that he's not worried about today. So we have three parts of our ministry. And I say I'm on the board of that ministry now. I got hooked. I met those girls and I got smitten. And I support some. And I'm on the board. And that's what I'm doing here today. I stopped and shared with Pastor Dan that I had been in Kenya because I heard he had been in Kenya. And so we hit it off real well, and he invited me here this Sunday. I was back and forth between one of our farms and two of our farms in the area, and I got out my tractor and went in there and met him in the office here. So he invited me there. But we have been in many of the same places in Kenya. So these are the things we do. We have businesses that we set up, we educate children, and then we disciple children. And we disciple people in those businesses. If you look, the business education discipleship, in the middle where they meet is the alleviation of physical and spiritual problems. I'll talk a little bit more about each of the things going on. Well, the problem is the danger, and there's a book that we use, I have a course that we teach at NC State on missions. And they have to read a book called When Helping Hurts. Many times you make people dependent with your ministry, with your mission work. And so we try to avoid making people dependent. Whereas creating financial dependency is not the best way to deal with mission. You can destroy things in the country that way. So our solution is to set up these social businesses. And we employ people who need work. We educate their children. When their time's part-time, we help feed them. And we are working with the poorest of the poor there in Kenya. The education is through our Rural Academy. And the reason is this: Kenya, we call it primary, secondary, and post-secondary education in the flag. Now, that's not the way I call it. I call it elementary school, high school, and college. Okay? And so, Kenya does a pretty good job of getting children through elementary school. But that's where it stops. Only 20%, 25% of the children in Kenya get to go to high school. And most of those are males. Women there are still considered second-class citizens. And if you're poor and your parents can't afford to send you to a girls' high school and pay for it, you stay in a place in your life where you will live on $1.25 a day for the rest of your life. And you can imagine what that does, the poverty there is. Other ones that do go to high school, do go to primary school, only 50% of them even graduate from high school. And so there are a tremendous number of people in Kenya who have no skills and very little education. Most of them women. When I went over with this group of students from NC State, these veterinary students, we were evaluating the dairy. We spent all our time at the dairy every day. But at night we would come back to the team house, and the girls from school would drift over. It was close to the team house. And one of the reasons was they had a water problem. They had to come over there to use the water to wash their clothes. And so we would start talking to them and ask them about who they are. And one girl named Faith was a senior, or a recent graduate. She said, well, I remember when I finished elementary school and I took this test KCSG, they take it in the elementary school to see if they qualify for high school. And then they take it in the high school to see if they qualify for higher education in college. She took the KCSG and she qualified for high school. And she was so excited when I told her parents, keep telling us this story, and I'm looking in my eyes. But my parents were poor. And they looked down to their floor, doesn't touch the human again. Not me, but look at the floor and said, you cannot afford to send you to school. You must come back home and become a waste in society like the other poor children. I can't even imagine having to tell my boy something like that. That's what got me involved in this mission. That girl's word. She finished school, and when she took the KCSG after high school, she was in the top 2% in the nation. Smart girl. Almost didn't get to have an education. So she's now in law school. She finished undergraduate school and she's in law school now. And she wants to work for the right to the poor. So, today, if you want to change a culture or change a nation, you disciple the mothers. They have so much influence on the family and on the people who will make a difference in your country. And so we're discipling the mothers of this country one at a time. These girls go back and they, just like my family, and my grandfather on the wall out here, but all of my aunts and uncles. And this, he was assigned here in 1887. Think about when that was. There were a few colleges, and almost no one had a college education. All of my aunts and all of my uncles went to college. They would go and they'd come back and work and put the next one through. And so they all supported each other and got everybody educated in that family. This is on my mother's side and my father's side. Two very unusual families that value education, and they help each other through to get education. That's what these girls do. They go back to their communities and their families, and they support the mission that's going to college. To get them out of college. So Uhuru Academy is Freedom Academy. And look at those girls. You would never know that they're from a disadvantaged families. They love each other, they have fun, they're just kids like everybody else's kids. But they work hard. They value that education so much because they know what it does in their life, how much it changes their life. This is Uhuru Academy. Let me back one up. Here's a group of the girls, and you can see some of my team members. I'm not going to tell you how to pick them out. But some of my team members are in here in this picture with them. And so we had a great time with them. We played soccer with them one day and things like this. And it's an exceptional school. It's not just a school in Kenya. We have PhD education people in Durham and Nashville, Tennessee that have designed the curriculum. And these girls get a top-notch education. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the excellence education extends into other things. When COVID shut down the schools in Kenya, most of the children had no way to continue education. They went home, and it became a burden for their family because their families relied on these schools to feed those children. They didn't have enough food at home when they all came back home. We rented cell phones. Everybody there has a cell phone or has cell phone access. They don't have landlines in, but they have cell phones. And so we rented cell phones, and we did our lessons over cell phones with those girls until they got back to school. They were back in school now. But during that initial period when everything was shut down, we did not interrupt their education. And the families that they went back to, if they were having trouble feeding all the children returned from school, because these were all boarding schools. And so when the children returned, they had to find food. We provide food for those families. So it's the top private school in the country. It's one of the top 3 in the nation. And all of our graduates, when they take that second test after high school, all of our graduates for the last 3 years, and this has only been in operation for about 8 years, 9 years old. So once the girls went through 4 years with us and graduated, you can see where I'm going, they all qualify for higher education. I mean, they're taught 4 days a week in English, 3 days a week in Swahili. So they're bilingual. They write, read, and the language is foreign to them. And the natural student, the normal student in Kenya, only 15% of the high school graduates qualify for college. And all of ours do. And last year, half of our graduates got scholarships from the government or some other agency to go to college. The others, we found a way. Our school had 64 students in it when I went over there. It had room for 120. So immediately when I got on board, we made an effort to fill that school. This year we enrolled 115 girls. We're essentially full. We had 117 and 2 of them had family problems had to leave. So essentially we're now full. For the first time since that ministry has started, we have a full enrollment. Discipleship. There's a thing called Christian Religious Education. That's one of the courses they take. The girls love it. They absolutely love it. And we've had at least one Muslim student that has become a Christian because of these courses. And so discipleship is a big part of the curriculum of the school. You see, not only do we disciple the people who work in our businesses, but we disciple those at the academy. This is one of our team members, this young man over here. He graduated. He was on that trip with me. He graduated. He's now in California at a dairy practice. And he wants to go into long-term mission service at some time. So he's going to eventually change his life from success to significance. His name is Trey, and he's in a Bible study class with the girls over there in Kenya. They swooned over him, you know. This is a student that I support the scholarship for. And she's on a Zoom call with me. And that's one of the unique things we have. If a Sunday school class or an individual in this church would like to sponsor a student, we'll arrange for you to meet her and talk to her personally on Zoom. And we do this all the time so that you get to know the student that you help. And she gets to know you. And the lady on the far right, looking from your direction, is the director of the ministry, the field director. She's an attorney, used to work in Durham. She gave everything up, sold everything, and went over there to run this program. But she is a bona fide missionary with giving everything, you know. And so she runs that whole program over there. And these are some of the people that are on this Zoom call. The guy at the top left is the CEO of the ministry. All these posters and things are his. And I asked him, "You want these back?" He said, "Oh no. My wife's supposed to deliver a baby, and I'm not going anywhere for quite a while. So you just keep them." And sure enough, the baby was delivered on Thursday when I was on the way down here. So I'll send you a really posters back to him and let him do this stuff. But this is a letter from a girl, one of the girls I support. And it says, and I'll read it to you, but it says, "The school is so nice. We're going on well and we're great." Now, this letter was 2 pages long. This is her handwriting. She's in the 9th or 10th grade, and she's writing in a foreign language. Okay? And she says, "The primary school I was in was no good. We just did all that we had to do." She said, "The teachers were not so friendly. And I thank God that here, because our teachers, that I'm here, because our teachers are so friendly. They're so good. They talk to us nicely. They love us, and we love them so much that they are always praying for us. And as I wind up, I want to thank you so much, even though I've not known you. But I hope I will know you, and you will know me. May the Lord be with you, and may He cover you with His blood forever. This is a girl that is writing in another language, and has that concept of her faith and what benefits she's receiving from this school. Gladys is another good story. And ultimately, we dragged on here. I know everybody's got something to do tonight. She talked about the school being very good. But this is on our website. If you go to the website, freedomnows.org, you can look up Gladys' house. When the girls, when she came to school, the girls wanted to know her, wanted to meet her, wanted to have fellowship with her, but she was withdrawn. And so eventually, she realized these girls are just like I am. They came from poor backgrounds, and so she invited them to her house. She lived beside a dump in tents. Her family slept on road rugs in tents their whole life, beside the dump. Because when people dump trash and food in there, they could go and glean in that area. And so she took her friends there. She decided not to be proud and to let them know who she was. They were so touched that they went back and the rest of the girls at the whole school, not just her class, but the girls at the whole school gave up meat for 3 months so that the money that was used to buy meat for their meals was put in a deposit so that they could buy materials and go back and build the house. And the girls went back and built the house for these kids to live in. The businesses. Now, the guys that work here were displaced by tribal violence and after elections. We've had some similar things go on in our country. and then we got 2 tribes here fighting each other. And so that happens in Kenya also. And these guys were displaced and had nothing. They lived in there was a slum outside of Nairobi, Kenya that had over 1 million people in it, all living in little cardboard and tin shacks. Now this is in the tropics, so the weather doesn't get very brutal. But still, you live with no privacy, no room, no sanitation, and no fresh water. And so these people we started helping and brought them into some of the businesses. The first one was updates to the business, and then we had swine, and we had chickens.